guy that I've seen do this, where he just quit something that was popular when you're at the very top of it. Lucky for me, when I quit, I went to Africa, so there was a media storm that I didn't hear. By the time I got back, everyone was just looking at me crazy. That was a very difficult decision to make. The entire world told me I was crazy, but I was sure I was being true to myself and to something that I learned at Ellington. I'm one of those comedians that thought of himself as an artist. I was enamored by what the genre could do. It was like the pictures that I could paint with words and the way I could engage with audiences. I understood as it was happening. I was very lucky to be able to do this. And I protected that. And I knew that if I took the money, they would expect me to behave differently. And I wasn't willing to accept that. So I quit. And when I quit, it was a very difficult time in my life that I'll spare you the details, but man, fuck show business. It was tough. And then one day I was in Panama City, Panama, and I was at a hotel, and I looked at the lobby. There was a painting of Abraham Lincoln. And then I would look closer. It wasn't a painting. It was all pennies, just pennies, on a black canvas arranged into the face of Abraham Lincoln. And I asked the guy, I said, how much is that painting worth? He said, $600,000, sir. And I looked at the pennies that made up the painting, and I was like, that's like $300 worth of pennies. A light bulb went in my head. I realized the value of art. Some of the biggest wars and crimes and scandals in history were financed through the theft of art. Art is a powerful commodity. And artists, if you're good at it, should never behave as a commodity. That's a tough one. And then I gave up. I said, this is probably it. I accepted the fact that the career I thought I was gonna have was over, but I started to rediscover just my art for its own sake. I would go to comedy clubs, and I worked for way less money than I ever had, and I enjoyed it more than any of the work I ever did. It was probably the best work I'll ever do, because it was so honest. It was so sincere. There was no media, there was no studio, there was no scrutiny, just me and the crowds. And I did it night after night, and slowly but surely the crowds got bigger and bigger. And then suddenly people started to notice, and Polestar would say, Dave Chappelle has the tour of the year. And again, and then the year after that, and then the year after that. And then Lorne Michaels asked me to do Saturday Night Live. And it wasn't just like he asked me. He was courting me. I didn't even know it. He gave me this whole long speech. I was like, all right. And then I read some book about Lorne Michaels starting Saturday Night Live, and I read the speech that he gave Richard Pryor when he wanted him to host the show, and I said, holy shit, that's the same shit he said to me. And I did it. And that was an enormous amount of pressure. It had been 12 years since I had been on television, or since I had even talked to the media. And I remember I signed my Netflix contract on my way to my mark for the monologue. If you do live television, they count down every second. 30 seconds. Are you sure this contract is good? It's good, just sign the paper, it's good. 22 seconds. Oh, nigga, you better not be tricking me. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I walked out on that stage and I killed it. It was natural. It was nothing. It was easy work. Got an Emmy for that one, too. First Emmy I won. And when I walked on the stage, after being in the cold for so long, for the first time when I walked on the stage, I'm like, damn, nigga, I just made it. Couldn't wait to get out of D.C. When I was 17, I moved to New York and lit that comedy scene up. I was obviously talented. You'll hear stories about people saying that I discovered Dave Chappelle. It's like saying you discovered sunshine. I was shining on everybody. And when I got in that professional world, I was oddly prepared. I had a sense of professionalism. I showed up on time. I did the things that I learned in school to do, just the basics. My career didn't have any direction because I was still so young. And that didn't change for many years. It didn't change until my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, told me she was pregnant. And I was like, you know what? I should really start taking this seriously. When she told me that, before the baby was born, I had done my first HBO special, and then I went to work on a sketch comedy show idea I had, and Chappelle show came out. When my son was still maybe 18 months, he was years old. And I bet on myself. I took less money. I remember that, so I could do what I wanted to do. I said, you don't have to pay me that much, but you can't ever tell me that I can't do what I want to do. I did the first season, I'll tell you, for $300,000. Which sounds like a lot of money, but. It was a rare experience in my life because it was the first time that I did something that was so successful that I knew I had exceeded their expectations. I was more successful than I felt like I was supposed to be. They didn't plan on that. The second season came out and was a juggernaut, and then I remember this was the single best day of my career. The Rick James episode of Chappelle Show had come out. People were going crazy about the Rick James episode. At the same time, the DVD for season 1 of Chappelle Show dropped. It was the first time any television show had ever been sold off air, and it sold 1 million copies in the first day. It was unheard of. To this day, nothing has sold more than Chappelle Show. It's still on the top 10 in Netflix. All those great things happened, and my contract was up. Clearly, I was about to be rich. I'll spare you all the details of why it didn't work out. Of someone else's perceived oppression is untenable to me. The fact that if my name was on this theater and the kid that walked through that door would feel anything other than pride in their school and in their endeavors, well, that's untenable to me. So on Friday, I decided that I don't want my name on the school. Hear me out. The Ellington family is my family. When this controversy came out, when the students were angry, at the height of their anger, they said, we still want to name the theater after you. They taught the kids about the nuance of art and activism, and to, I feel, a great deal of success. And it came around. So it's not that they did not want to give this to me. They're still my family. And I'm not going to say I don't want it. I'm going to say I'll defer it. Rather than give this theater my name, I would like to give these students my message to them. So it is with great honor that I unveil the new name of this theater, the Gerard Carmichael Theater. I'm just kidding. I'm totally joking. Let me see if I can get this here. This theater should be called the Theater for Artistic Freedom and Expression. I want that for myself, and I want it for every student that's educated at this school. And when and if you are ever ready, you can... Really, I could do these specials like Steph Curry. I'll be shooting from inside, outside, all night. It's been great ever since. A lot of my friends are athletes, and I never could understand what it would feel like can only have a limited amount of time to be great. You got 20 years to be the best, or 30 years to be the best. But when you do art, you could be great whenever the will decides that you're great. I feel very lucky for that. And I never forgot this school. I've always come back and checked in. One of my favorite honors was doing the commencement at Ellington. I can't even remember what year it is. I just remember they cheered for me when I came out. I wasn't a big star, but I was their star. And I felt like I was home. After I did Lorne Michaels, after I did Saturday Night Live, Lorne Michaels said something that I got to share with you. He goes, "You went to Peggy Caford School, didn't you?" That's what he said. And I said, "I did." And he said, I want to say to Saturday Night Live, he goes, "Tell her I owe her money." You know, I never asked to have this theater named after me. Peggy asked me. She was ailing, and I went to her house to visit her. She said, "I want you to put your name on the